what if I draw my character, who's bitter, cold, and sarcastic, as a Powerpuff Girl? Hi, welcome back to Shao Studio. It's kind of been a while. I kind of got sidetracked with, work and paying bills and other adult-like things. Also, I was awfully optimistic that I would get more views than I did, and therefore disappointed when I didn't. So my brother suggested, as I bring my channel back, that I create more challenges, and the first challenge I'm going to do is the Draw the Character in Another Style challenge. So I have my character Pinta from Morturian Wine, my original story, and she's described as such. Pinta Felsari, face crossed, no longer a young woman but middle-aged. High cheekbones and angular features created a gaunt, permanently tired appearance, framed by thick waves of wind-blown hair. Deep-set, dark eyes glared at the man, shadowed by furrowed brows, her tan arms tense beneath rolled sleeves of her shirt. It's hard to describe her character a little bit without giving away too much of the story, but she's an assassin with a sword. She's kind of cold and sarcastic, and so drawing her as a Powerpuff Girl was ironic to say the least. Now, for Powerpuff Girls, the first thing I noticed is that they have this big, very circular head, so I drew that, and kind of noodly limbs. The next big thing about Powerpuff Girls is their really big circular eyes, and if she weren't in a normally scowly position, I probably would draw pure circled eyes, but that makes her look a little too light-hearted. So I went with the scowl. Buttercup also has the scowl. So the second style that I decide to capture is that of Tim Burton. And there's three things I think of when I see a Tim Burton character. One is that they have pale skin with usually circles under the eyes. Sweeney Todd is a great example. The Corpse Bride is another good example. Tim Burton likes stripes. I don't know why, but all of his movies are supposed to have black and white stripes, so I try to include in her shirt black and white stripes, even though she's not described as having a striped shirt. The next thing that I think of with Tim Burton, the third, is gaunt, creepy facial features. So I tried to make her as thin as possible, where the rest of the styles usually are plumper, rounder, and more simplified. So I think the Tim Burton character turned out really well. The one thing that I would change is that her shirt and her skin tone are really close to each other. I have the same problem in the Powerpuff Girls, as she's has a slightly lighter skin tone. The next style that I decide to do is hard to tell originally by looking at the sketch. It's not Bob's Burgers, it's actually The Simpsons. And for the first portion of making this sketch, I thought, oh gosh, this looks nothing like a Simpsons character. So I had to look at references, and I had to really decide what made a Simpsons character look like a Simpsons character. And the thing that the Simpsons have in common with Bob's Burgers is the lack of a chin. However, they have rounder, bigger, fuller eyes, and more rounded shapes, where Bob's Burgers is a bit more pointed, I guess. The next style that I decided to try is not my favorite. It is my favorite style, but it's not my favorite to draw in because I'm not good at drawing in it, and I don't think she turned out quite in character for the style or for herself, and that is the Sailor Moon style. Much like Powerpuff Girls, it's a very weird style to put a cold, sarcastic character in, so it's hard to give her a scowling look when she has big, bright, shiny eyes. I'm sure there's a way to make a more scowled look with shiny eyes, but I did not achieve it. I think I ended up spending the most amount of time working on this specific style, which is a little disappointing because it didn't turn out exactly how I wanted it to. I think her face is a little narrow, and her eyes may be a little too wide set. I picked Sailor Moon because in my mind it represents anime really, really well. First, there's very large eyes, and then the specific style of hair, how it has the individual strands and then highlights on top of that. To me, that just represents anime more than other animes, even though it's all really anime. Another reason I selected Sailor Moon specifically was it was one of my favorite styles as a kid growing up. It's one of the first animes that I ever watched, and one of the first things that got me into anime. Another reason I chose Sailor Moon is I felt it was timeless and more recognizable than maybe some of the other animes that I watch. Also, surprisingly enough, as much as I love Sailor Moon, I have not watched the new version. To be honest, I'm a little scared to watch Sailor Moon. I'm afraid it's going to be like the Power Rangers when you watch it, a show that you liked as a kid, and you watch it as an adult, and it turns out it's really corny and really cheesy. But maybe without expectations, it would be okay. The next style I decide to draw in is Adventure Time, which is weird because I've never watched Adventure Time. I know, I'm a horrible person. I thought it would be funny if she were looking down at her hand like, why is my hand like this? So I draw her in that position. But then I struggled drawing her hand. I think I ended up drawing it 5 or 6 times and resizing it and redoing it. At this point I think, aha, I have finally found a design where I have closed lines and I can use the paint bucket tool because this has taken way too long. I used the paint bucket tool and did not close all my lines. And then continued to struggle with having some color seep through at the end. So that is my style challenge. There it is, all finished. Tell me what you think in the comments.